All right, welcome back. It's episode 6 of the Low Sodium Gaming Podcast. My name's Kris, and this is Rob.
What up, guys? We're talking today about something extremely interesting, something that's been trending in the news, and it's that Bethesda has decided to delay Starfield and Redfall. And we think that that's a very interesting subject because it could go both ways. It's a conversation that can go both ways. You can either support it or you can hate it. So, Kris, what do you think?
So, I'm inherently for like when a company's like, "Yo, this isn't turning out the way we want to do it. We need to let it bake a little bit longer."
Mhm.
I'm for that, right? Like, let's not put out something that's shitty. But at the same time, recently we've seen Battlefield 2042, Cyberpunk, a few other games that even with that extra time, it's not enough.
Right.
So I already don't trust Bethesda, with Fallout 76, with, the re release of Skyrim. I don't really trust them to put out a great product when it first comes out. And honestly, I don't think like they fix their games post launch either, or to a great extent. But they don't have many releases every
Mm.
year either. But I am not the most optimistic when it comes to Starfield or Redfall at
Mm.
all.
Well, I think fans are upset, and you'd be surprised, right? Like, so in Cyberpunk 2077, that was a massive disappointment in the sense of like they delayed it, and fans were getting upset. They brought out the product. Fans got even more upset because the game wasn't complete, and that was a big issue. Now fans are more lenient in delays. Like, hey, if you companies delay a game, like fans are more like, okay, this is good. If it needs more time, it needs more time. I trust this company. The problem is that the overall company that's in charge of Bethesda is Microsoft. And it's been so many years since we've had a decent game from Microsoft where it's a hit, right?
Yeah,
The
no, yeah, definitely, most definitely.
right. So like, that's why fans are upset. It's now Phil Spencer is a visionary, and I completely agree with one of the comments that the God of War director from the original three. He said Phil Spencer is a visionary, but he's not a manager.
Mm.
He needs to put somebody in charge as manager because what are these companies doing that all of a sudden, like every time like Microsoft is about to come out with something, it gets delayed, gets put on hold for the next year. Sometimes they don't even come at all. Case in point, Halo Infinite. It's like how many times does that game get delayed? In fact, they were gonna come out. Microsoft was gonna come out in 2020. That was gonna be the system seller. They threw out a trailer and the graphics looked terrible. You know why? Because they were so concerned about making it Xbox One and Series X that they completely botched it. They needed to focus solely on the next generation. That's why PlayStation has been successful.
Yeah,
So like if you notice PlayStation with the Miles Morales ones, with the Ratchet and Clank, like those games that came out at the beginning, you need it's like they were like we need a new generation for this.
I mean,
So they stood with that.
I think they know this, right? They know this, and they know that they can't release something that's half-assed. That's why Halo was delayed, and the route that they took was releasing the multiplayer before releasing the campaign, and arguably the campaign, you can argue that the campaign isn't complete yet either, where because co-op wasn't available
Absolutely.
on launch, right? And a lot of
Oh my god.
people,
And it's still not available.
yes, yeah, and it'll be a year soon,
It's
and
it's bullcrap. It's freaking bullcrap. Oh, it's I think Halo came out in November, so like it's still
Yeah, they still
It,
have time, but I mean, like optimistically saying like it's going to take until November for co-op to drop. I think is realistic. Like it's just we're at a point in time where a lot of these studios that have been praised for their great games, from the past, just they can't put out something that is solid on the first try.
they, I don't know, but I think you can't really say that because Sony has been successful.
I said a
Like
lot. I didn't say all of.
no, but here's the
Yeah.
thing. Here's the thing though. Like you gotta hand it to Sony. Like Sony has been managing their games pretty well, and if they do have a delay, it's like it's gotten to the point. If they have a delay, fans will believe them.
So
So it's like,
I
yeah,
think
absolutely.
there's an important thing that I forgot to mention. I forgot to mention scope, right? So Sony's games tend to have a narrow scope. Like you're an adventure. Like when I say scope on features, right? Like God of War is a really honed in combat. The world itself isn't gigantic, even though it feels big because attention to detail and stuff like that. So you look at the scope of Starfield, and they're talking about traveling to different planets, being able to do this, being able to do that, like selling this dream of a whole new, world that has infinite possibilities, right? Like that's what they're trying to kind of sell with Starfield, and that's a giant scope. It's the Star Citizen problem, kind of. I don't think they're going that far with it, but it's called feature creep, and they keep adding and keep adding and keep adding, and they never release a game, or well, Star Citizen anyway. I think Starfield is going to come out. I just, again, I don't have any real confidence that it's going to be something that is in a great shape when it releases.
I think that's the same issue that Halo had.
Hmm.
Halo Infinite, and like so I've been
Did you
that's the
did you
game
play Halo?
I actually have been playing it this week. So like Halo has been what the game that I've been playing for the week, and I waited a little bit just to get as many updates as possible. I was getting into some other games, so now I'm like, okay, it's time for Halo. Like the fact is, Halo is a great game. Halo Infinite is a great game. It does have that feeling from the first one. The story is actually pretty decent. I really appreciate it. Now it it still feels incomplete because it's not the original vision that the people 343 had in mind.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, they were thinking not like so now. Think about Halo Infinite as a giant level that has to do a lot with the original Halo. You remember that, like that first
Yeah.
level that
Hmm.
you landed on Halo? That's exactly it, but expanded, uh, multifaceted, expanded. It's really good. However, the original idea was that they would have deserts, they would have different environments where you would be playing, but it never got to that point. So now you're just playing a gigantic level from the original Halo 1, obviously improved, a lot better, yada yada yada. But still, you feel like something's missing. And the
Hmm.
fact that they don't have co-op, it's like, come on, guys. You've always had a co-op. Far Cry 6 does it all the time. I got it. Like multiplayer co-op is not that easy, but
So I guess my question for you is, what state do you think Starfield is going to release in? Like with this delay, do you think this delay is enough time to get it where they want it to be?
I don't think Starfield is going to be the way that they want. I think they're having the situation that you were talking about with the other game that you were talking about. I forgot the name of it. It's similar to Elite Dangerous. You were just talking
Oh,
about it.
Star Citizen. Yeah, Star
Star
Citizen. Yeah.
Citizen. Yeah. So it's similar to Star Citizen. It just creeps up on you. I honestly think that the people at Bethesda, they had big aspirations for Starfield, and now they're at a point where like Microsoft is saying like you guys need to get this out. Like you need to narrow the scope. And I think that's the problem that I see that with Phil Spencer. Phil Spencer, he's too lenient. So like the way that he manages it, it's like do whatever you want, however you want. We want to give you as much freedom as possible as developers, and I respect that. However, like when you're in a leadership position, it's like you do realize that a lot of people always have bigger scopes that they can handle. So I am absolutely sure Bethesda felt that they could handle a bigger scope, the scope that than what they're actually producing. And now they're gonna have to cut corners, and you're gonna see it. You're gonna see it
Yeah.
in the final
Well,
product.
here's the other thing too, and it's the engine that they use. Now they did say that they've completely revamped the creation engine, and the creation engine is something that they've been using for a very long time. That's why Fallout 4 looks very similar to like Fallout 3, right? Which you would expect it to because of
Yeah,
art style and stuff, but like fundamentally that like animations things like that look really similar, right? It just has a graphics update. It's like someone installed mods in the Far Cry 3, and that's really what you have for Fallout 3 and 4, right?
yeah, yeah.
So my take is that if they're still using the basic structure of the creation engine, they're running into issues like that engine. I hope they did. I hope it's like Creation Engine 2 and not, point 0.5. I hope it's not an
Mm.
iteration. I hope it's like a brand new thing that they worked on and developed. I haven't been following it totally because again, I just don't trust Bethesda like that. When you get the sixth, the eighth re-release of Skyrim, and you know the last couple of games were either mediocre or freaking broken on release. I just don't. I don't see it being. I don't see myself getting excited for the game coming out. So
I mean, Bethesda, but that like you gotta hand it to Bethesda too. Like the people. So I was, so I was looking at a video that was criticizing Bethesda, and it was mentioning all these other games that they were publishing and all that stuff. They forget Doom. I think Doom, uh, published by Bethesda or ZeniMax, the overall company. It's a really good game. I thought the Dishonored games were really good too. I played Prey. Prey did not disappoint. I mean, Bethesda does, they
that's
are
that's
brave,
Arcane though.
but it's still,
It's under
isn't
but
it?
it's under the Bethesda flag, but that's
Yeah,
Arcane Studios. And to me, like, yeah, it's Bethesda, but it's not. You get what I'm saying? They and the scope of those Dishonored games, Prey and stuff like that, are
they're
still
smaller.
are still smaller than what they're trying to achieve. Because even with Redfall is an open world co-op FPS game that Arcane is doing, and I'm pretty sure it's still going to have a smaller scope than what Starfield is trying to do overall. And I'm not wishing bad at all. I'm not wishing bad on Bethesda. It's just like, you know, they usually turn in D work. You know what I mean?
I honestly think that it's more of a symptomatic issue with Microsoft more than Bethesda. Like
But
this is not the
Starfield
first.
wasn't Starfield announced like well before the acquisition.
It's true. It's true. But at the same time, Microsoft is already in charge of Bethesda. It just looks bad on them. It just like it's happened before. Like they didn't do really well in Xbox One. They have a second chance with Microsoft's Xbox Series X. They haven't really come out with any new releases, and they were counting on Starfield to show up this year. It won't. It's like,
Yeah.
come on, guys.
I
So
really hope
so
cuz like the
so
only real
so
exclusive that
there's
they
a
have is Forza.
there's a Polygon article here that says it clearly. But the delays to Starfield and Redfall cast a harsh light on Xbox's ability to manage its sprawling development empire, whether or not they're actually symptomatic of it. No wonder Spencer feels that when it comes to delivering quality and consistency, his team still has something to prove. It's something that's been going on for a while. Like Phil Spencer has been saying, like we're gonna change the development. We're gonna change like how Microsoft does their games, but they haven't really provided much, man.
No, they
And I
haven't. I'm completely on the same page with you there. Because like you look at it, there is no other than Game Pass, right? Other than Game Pass, in the last 3-4 years, even longer, actually longer than that, what has Xbox put out that you're like, oh man, that's great? Like
Exactly.
Crackdown 3, I think it is. Crackdown 3 came
Oh
out.
my
Like, who
god.
cares,
Right.
right?
But I mean, like I know that a lot of people there are fans of Forza Horizon, like the new Forza Horizon. I didn't give three shits about Forza Horizon. I
Not at
played
all.
it. I played it for a little bit, but I'm not a racer. I'm an action story driven player, and Xbox hasn't given me any of that. The only game thus far that I'm very entertained with is Halo Infinite, and like that's only one game. It's like, come on, guys, give me a break. I've been super supportive of Microsoft, super. Like, Microsoft Xbox I got that system before I had a Sony PlayStation. I never had a PlayStation, or I never had a PlayStation 2. My first Sony PlayStation console was the PlayStation 3, and it was because of Metal Gear Solid. Because I was a super fan of Metal Gear Solid, and I wanted to see that ending. I had to borrow a PlayStation once because I wanted to play the original
Yeah,
ending. And
yeah.
thankfully, Metal Gear Solid 2 came out for the Xbox. I think the third one also came out for the Xbox, and I was able to play it.
So
So
I think that there's a problem, right? That and this is a whole nother topic that I kind of want to hop into. I was either planning on doing a video on it, or we can discuss it. We'll talk about that later. But like, when should franchises die, right? Like, when should it be over? When
mm,
should Master Chief hang up his helmet and like they actually give him an ending, right? And the reason I say that is because it keeps them from releasing new IPs, right? Like, Halo has to be bigger and grander than it ever was, rather than just, either A, telling different stories within that universe, or B, completely like ending the series and going in a new direction. And I feel I kind of feel the same. Like, I feel like with that, whatever they have going on, they're having a problem either completing these new IPs, or they're trying to bank on older stuff to sell these consoles. You get what I'm saying?
no, I get what you're saying. So like I can talk to you about we can that's a good subject to talk about, right? But like and I will say this. I think that it totally depends on the direction that they're going. So, for example, God of War 1 through 3 is a completely different game from the God of War that came out for the PlayStation 4.
Agreed.
But but it is continuing the same story that of creators. It is developing that story from the original 3, and how he's matured and progressed over life in God of War 4, right? So in Halo, I think if they do something
I
to
just
that
want to point
facet,
out that there was 8 years in between God of War 3 and God of War for the PS4.
it's true.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, in Halo, like for example, 2000, the last Halo, like Halo 5
5.
came out in
Yeah.
2015. This Halo Infinite came out in 2021. So it was like 6 years. Um, my point is that I think that if if they focus more on the story itself, and go into the personal level of Halo, instead of telling these different stories and making it too big for them to handle, I think they would succeed. Overall, I think people are more enamored with the story of Halo, and obviously the multiplayer, than anything else. I play it because I am a fan of the
Yeah.
story. And I think Infinite succeeds because it narrows down the story to just a story between Cortana and Master Chief.
So I
And
don't
that's
I don't want to hop too far off like our main topic, right? Um but I do want to say that I kind of want to shift this back to like how do we get to this point where developers can make the game that they want within a time frame that they need to do, right? And the next step, but alongside narrowing the scope or keeping the scope in line, is just the technology, right? And I mentioned the creation engine before, and I think developers have to these companies have to be willing to either really spend the R&D to make a new engine that meets their needs of what they're trying to do, or be willing to use a third party engine, right? So I honestly don't want to see Unreal Engine plastered on every game, but if that's the tool that you need to get the job done, then use it,
Yeah.
right? Like, I just put out a video on Onimusha, right, and why it needs a remake, and the RE engine it's been shown that that thing is amazing with Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, 7,
Devil
Village,
May Cry.
yeah, Devil May Cry, like that engine's amazing.
Yeah,
So
it is.
just keep using it, keep putting games out, keep using it to put out games, because it's the tool that it's a wonderful tool. And
Well,
so
yeah.
yeah,
Right now, it's a good tool, but like, let's face it, they need a like at least Bethesda needed a new tool
they need a new
because
tool. That's the point I'm trying to get at, is that Bethesda needs a new tool, because the creation engine is not it. That to me, it's not it. Like when the first trailer for Fallout 4 came out, I was like, that looks really a lot like Fallout. The game looks like shit. Like that's the first.
no, you're right. I mean, I listen. Like it was basically playing an updated version of Fallout 3 in Vegas, New Vegas. It
Yeah,
really it wasn't really that advanced, and it was very disappointing actually. So like like you jump from an Xbox 360 level game to an Xbox One or PlayStation 4, and it still kind of looks the same.
it's a polished
It's like,
turd.
yeah,
It's a polished turd.
yeah, they needed a new tool to use. Hopefully the Starfield.
I
It,
I
it
I I
I
want the best for it. I really do.
I am excited for Starfield. I am because I saw Skyrim. I thought Skyrim, and I know that you keep making fun of the re-releases and stuff, but the fact is that
It's a
the
great game. That's the
the thing,
problem. It's
uh,
fucking great.
yeah,
But they keep banking on it. It's like, hey, remember this one trick I used to do? Let me
no,
do it
okay.
again. It's the guy that tells the same joke in the office every other day.
So my belief is though is that again now that Bethesda is no longer private and belongs to another organization, I don't think they're gonna do that as often.
I
But
hope.
Bethesda was trying to survive. It's like I still remember the Bethesda, and I gotta hand it to them. I think this is the last thing that I'll say. I remember that Wolfenstein 2 came out, and I played it. It was if the story is if the Nazis would have won
Hmm.
and would have invaded the
Yeah,
United States,
I've played that whole series. It's great.
right?
Yeah.
Right. This is also the game also came out in the Trump era, like all that fiasco that's going on. People were upset that we were killing Nazis in the game. You laugh about it, but it's true.
I'm laughing because it's true, because I remember like this being a point of contention, and
Yeah,
like
it's like
yeah.
and I remember I remember the game had nothing wrong. Like it really had nothing wrong. Like it was in a way it was just like, hey, if this was what had happened and you're just freaking killing Nazis
Yeah,
because they're
I did
like
a video on it.
yeah, they're the worst terror um in World War II,
Having
right? So
a topless naked lady fire off two machine guns in slow mo is how you describe the
yeah,
best parts of that game. Like it's
yeah,
just yeah, it's weird, it's wonky, and you're curb stomping the shit out of some Nazis.
yeah, and I remember that like the developers came out and they were asking it, is this is gonna affect your this is gonna affect how well your game was gonna sell? Are you concerned about it? And they're like, no. we're not concerned about it because, as far as we know, Nazis are evil, right? You know, like
I think again, I like when you look at the other games that come out from that Bethesda umbrella, they're usually pretty good. Like your Dishonored's, your Wolfensteins, Doom is under them too, right?
Doom is under them, yeah.
Yeah, so like I think these are coming from, but they're coming from the other studios that are under that
I
Bethesda
my,
umbrella.
is it okay? So Bethesda Software's it is okay. So the parent organization is ZeniMax. That's where
Hmm.
okay. All right, Bethesda Game Software, but all okay. So Bethesda owns all these other game King companies. I get it.
Yeah. So I mean like what they've been riding on is the success of stories and environments and the worlds that they put you in. And at least for me, after like my second playthrough of Skyrim, like I got like in the middle of the game and I was like, you know what, I'm done because it just it's kind of the same thing over and over again. I haven't really gone back to it. It was a great experience the first time. Played through some DLC and then I just kind of dropped it. It's a good game. I don't. I know some people that still play it. They have thousands upon thousands of hours into the game. I just it wasn't a one to do that for me.
Yeah, no. Well, anyway, I think we're out of time.
So that's it for today. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Guys, thank you so much for making it this far. If you did, uh, leave us a like, comment, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, like us on the other platforms, and we'll catch you on the next one. Later.
All right, take care, guys. Bye.